Afternoon then.
BBC Radio Wiltshire.
Sue Kinnear.
Yes, how you doing? We're into the afternoon on a Friday. That's put a smile on your face straight away. And it is the time when we have arrived at Wiltshire Views on BBC Radio Wiltshire, where we hear the thoughts of our two guests on some of today's stories in the news and on the socials. And today we are joined by Quizzie the Quiz Master. Yes, really. Otherwise known as Paul Jones from Cairn and former teacher Joe Garton, who's from Old Town in Swindon. So, Quizzie the Quiz Master. I'm loving that, Paul.
Good afternoon.
So you set quizzes. You do quizzes.
Yes, but for toddlers. So let's get the expectation out there straight away. And Quizzie is the Tommy Cooper of the quiz world, really. Mm-hmm. So he has a playful arrogance to him, but actually the videos are all about him not really knowing much at all, getting things wrong, really relying on the kids watching to be shouting those answers out through the television, through the smartphones and things like that, to him to give him the answers that he needs.
And it's done brilliantly well, hasn't it?
Thank you so much.
I mean, you're on YouTube and available on other social media channels
right, yeah.
even. So it is a bit educational. And here you are, sitting alongside former teacher Joe Garton. I dare say you set more than one or two quizzes and tests in your time, Joe?
Yes, I'm an inveterate quizzer myself. I belong to a pub quiz team and we quizzed on Saturday night.
Go on, where did you come?
And we won.
Oh,
Well, yeah.
Well, I need to get you on our village quiz team because in our last village quiz we came 9th out of 9 teams. Awful. And I had a neurophysicist or a neuro brain surgeon on the team, so you know.
Not always the most practical, though, Sue, are they?
And so it proved. But as a retired teacher, Joe, you must be looking around a bit after this week with the strikes and everything and thinking, oh my goodness, I'm really happy I'm retired.
Very happy indeed, Sue. Yes, very happy. One of the things that struck me sadly about it was looking at the pictures and seeing none of the people I knew because they've all gone.
Oh.
Which is sad.
And here you are, looking youthful.
Ha! Ha! Well, these social media challenges are brilliant on the makeup, aren't they? That's what I find.
But actually, talking about teaching and the fact that you do toddler quizzes, you can never start too early with kids. They like to learn, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And I've got 2 kids myself. And you see it from such an early age. You know, they're sponges, aren't they? They're just desperate to learn, and they love to learn, and they are proud of themselves when they learn something new. So yeah, it's all about getting in there really early and getting them used to that kind of thing.
And is that how it started for you, the quizzes, because you had children yourself?
Yes, so it was during lockdown. So I have MS, so I was part of the shielding category. So I was at home for a long time, sort of longer than most. It was about a year. We had the kids at home as well because we had to kind of shield them in case they brought stuff back to me. Yeah. We watched a lot of YouTube because kids' TV in the daytime, there's not much on. No. So we used the YouTube as, you know, fun shows but also educational shows, and it just started debates between me and my eldest about what I would allow her to watch and not watch. And she just made a comment just saying, well, how can you judge it, Daddy? You've never made anything.
Oh,
and this is a 5-year-old saying it. And I thought, well, you know what?
Harsh but fair.
We've got some time.
Yeah.
I don't know what it takes and all the effort it takes, so I'll give it a go. And I did. And then I haven't looked back since now. That was 2 years ago.
Fantastic. And you're keeping well?
I am very well so far. Yeah, I've been relapse-free for nearly 4 years now. Oh. So when they come, they're big, but in between, I get to live fairly well, which is lucky, touch wood.
Absolutely fantastic. The voices you are listening to are those belonging to Paul Jones, Quizzie the Quiz Master from Cairn, and former teacher Joe Garton, who's from Old Town in Swindon. Our conversation begins with both of them very, very soon. And we may well start with BBC Radio Wiltshire Weekends. Yes, we are knocking on the door of one of those. It's BBC Radio Wiltshire. You're listening to Sue Kinnear in conversation this Friday lunchtime with Quizzie the Quiz Master, Paul Jones from Cairn, and former teacher Joe Garton, who, as a teacher, was no stranger to setting quizzes and tests herself, but not sure they were enjoyed by your pupils as much as Paul's toddler quizzes, Joe. I mean, I don't know, I'm maybe casting aspersions there, but so we started this morning on BBC Radio Wiltshire talking about something that I don't know if you've ever considered, how to eat a donut. And it's after a TikTok video by self-proclaimed etiquette expert Lucy Challenger suggested the only way to eat a donut is with a knife and fork. Here she is.
I would take the fork and then I would simply cut through the donut, repeat the action, and then spear the donut with the fork and place a neat bite-sized portion into my mouth to eat.
Right. Okay. Where's the fun in that is the first thing that springs to mind. Paul, how do you eat your donuts?
I would say in the traditional way. I just go straight in for it. Sugar all up the sides of the mouth.
Yeah.
And I think at the end, you've almost got the sugar at the end to have a bit of a lick at the end once you've eaten it.
Yeah.
But very different. My daughter's completely different.
Go on.
She's very similar. She makes me cut it like a pizza into 8 individual pieces and then serve it to her all cut with little triangle pieces like a pizza, and she eats one at a time.
And the jam doesn't go everywhere?
Or just get a little puddle in the middle like a dip.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she'd get on with Lucy Challenger, wouldn't
indeed.
she?
She
That's
would.
amazing. What about you, Joe? Have you,
Well, this is amazing. Given the size I am, I don't like donuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're not a fan?
No, I find them too. It's like a mouthful of fat, really. Yeah,
And sugar. Don't forget the
yeah,
sugar.
yeah. The American donut's slightly different, but I don't know. Your tastes change over life, don't they?
Yes.
And I used to have a very sweet tooth, and it's kind of now I prefer a gin and tonic. I'm afraid.
Well, I'm not saying it's either or. and to me, a jam donut is one of my 5 a day. You know, it's so sweet and there's fruit in there. You know,
Fruit bells, a stretch there, Sue.
but
Bit of a stretch.
But how do you stand, Joe, on food like, say, I mean, Sandra in Chippenham came up with the most amazing list of foods that you should eat with your hands through pancakes, burgers, pizza, wraps. I mean, where do you stand on food like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, frankly, yes, I'd rather pick it up with that. My mother-in-law used to say, though, if there was no cake fork, we were common. So if we're sitting in front of the telly and we see, you know, this is a common macaque, we just look at each other and say, no cake forks then.
No.
But, you know, we went out for dinner last night, one of the local curry houses, and I tried to eat a samosa with a knife and fork, and I thought, this is, you've got to pick it up, haven't you?
Well, I
Got to
think
go for it.
things like that, like sausage rolls and pasties, and I mean, they're not designed for knives and forks, are they?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So, I mean, where do you stand on things like pizza and burgers and food like that?
Yep, straight in with the hands generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're messy, it's fine. As long as you're prepared for that.
There is an argument that it tastes better. I mean, you know, in fairness.
Yep.
I think so. I mean, while we're talking about food, I'm not sure if you've seen this story. The 6-year-old lad in America who was so hungry, he ran up $1,000 takeaway bill on his dad's phone. Dad, not so happy.
I looked out the window and he popped up and said, "Who's here? Who's here?" And cars are coming in the driveway while cars are leaving the driveway. Looked down at my phone and it said, "Chase fraud alert, $439 for pizzas." And then he tipped 25% on every single order.
I love that, though. He's only 6. His name's Mason Stonehouse. And in total, with all those service charges that he gave a 25% tip for, it was $1,000 bill. I mean, that's just... what would you do, Joe, if one of your grandkids came home or you found out that they'd done that on their parents' smartphone?
I'd think that my son or daughter was a complete idiot to give their 6-year-old a mobile phone, frankly. Wouldn't you, Sue?
Well, I would, and I do. I'm coming down on the side that this was the dad's fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he punished his 6-year-old kid by taking all of his savings. So he went to the kids' piggy bank and took the $115 that was in there from 6-year-old Mason and kept it.
Wow, it's a harsh lesson.
It does seem a bit harsh. And where do you stand on it, Paul? Is it the dad's fault or the kid's fault?
Well, I think you've got to blame the dad. That's 6, you can't really be held accountable for that.
Yeah.
If anything, he's giving good tips. So you've got to look at the caring side of the kid, and he was just hungry. And did he even know what he was ordering is the thing. Was it just a game to him?
Yeah.
There's so many games where my kids play games where you're making burgers, you're ordering things, you're serving customers, and it's just a game.
Exactly.
So to him, it probably just was a game.
And he's 6. I mean, to punish him like that, it does seem brutal. But how old do you think, because this is in the news today as well, how old should children be before they get a phone? Oh, deep breaths.
Generally, I mean, my kids use phones in the house, but they're old phones that are disconnected, so it's almost just like having a tablet, I guess.
Yes.
But I think a proper active phone, probably, I'm thinking secondary school.
Yes, and actually at secondary school, my kids both needed a phone. There were apps on there for their learning, and they were often invited to get their phones out and look stuff up. But yeah, the primary children, what do you think, Joe? You were a teacher for many years.
I retired 6 years ago. Things move fast. However, I think this is a tricky one because what you say about need varies quite a lot. When my kids were at primary school, I didn't let them have a phone until I think they were year 6. And at that point, I was divorced from their father, and if they're moving from place to place, for safety, the parents might prefer them to have a phone so you know where they are.
Yes.
Of course, once they get to 13, you give up on the fact that they will ever answer that phone if you want to know where they are.
I know.
But prior to that, you might like to have the safety of the phone, depending on what kind of lifestyle you have. And let's not forget, everyone's lives are different. If your child lived in London, they would probably be going halfway across the city at the age of 9 to get to their school. In Swindon, we have a different mindset. I didn't let mine have phones until they were year 6.
Yeah. How old are your
transition.
children, Paul?
So 3 and 8.
So still a very little one, but the 8-year-old nagging you yet for a phone?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. And she tells her friends that she has a phone, and you have to very quickly sort of say, well, actually, no, it's a tablet, really. It's just using the old phone in that way.
Yeah, it is tricky. The pressures they're under to have the stuff that we worry about them having. The voices you're listening to this lunchtime belong to Paul Jones, Quizzie the Quiz Master from Cairn, and former teacher Joe Garton from Swindon. More chat from them on the way, particularly about Eurovision and Johnny Rotten. Yeah.
Everyday acts of kindness make a huge difference to people in our community.
I found that I was very passionate about the care that these families receive.
It turned into dressing up as Spider-Man to then doing charity auctions.
Everybody comes here to leave their worries at home.
It's time to recognise and celebrate local heroes who make a difference where we live.
The Make a Difference Awards.
For a full list of categories and details of how to nominate someone, go to bbc.co.uk/makeadifference, where you can also see full terms and our privacy notice. Nominations are open now and close on the 5th of March 2023 at 11 p.m.
BBC Radio Wiltshire.
Reef. Place your hands, BBC Radio Wiltshire. We're enjoying the thoughts of our Wiltshire Views guests this Friday lunchtime on some of the lighter stories in the news. Joe Garton is a retired teacher from Swindon, and Quizzie the Quiz Master Paul Jones is from Cairn. And so to dogs. I usually get there one way or the other. Love my boys, Ralph and Bert. And Joe, I know you love dogs.
I do.
Yeah, and you're thinking about getting some new dogs?
Well, new. That sounds like you go to unwrap them, doesn't it, Sue? But actually,
new to you,
new to us. Yeah, we at 1 o'clock. I shall be there in my living room on a video call for a home check to see if we're suitable to receive 2 little puppies, 6-month-old puppies. So.
How fantastic! You are brave to take on 2 puppies at once. And Paul, you don't have a dog, but you love animals.
Yes, so we would definitely have dogs if we could. I just think we both work a lot of hours, and if we were ever in a position where one of us was home more, it would be something definitely on our list because they bring so much to the family.
Absolutely.
But we have a cat, and we kind of always have had cats since kids ourselves growing up.
Cuddly cat, nice, happy cat. Always
Very happy cat.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice. Our neighbour's got a very grumpy cat. Genuinely very grumpy cat. But the reason I wanted to talk about dogs is because of Bobby, who is officially the world's oldest dog. He's 30 years old now.
Wow.
Not far off being 31, and he lives in Portugal. And he's in the Guinness Book of World Records, beating a record that stood for a century. He is, and I'm not sure how I say this, but he's a purebred Rafeiro do Alentejo. Looks very much like a shaggy old Labrador, maybe a bit shaky on his legs now, but he's more than double the life expectancy for his breed of 12 to 14 years. I mean, that's extraordinary to keep a dog going for 30 years. I mean, well, they say that it's eaten everything they've eaten. The longest I've kept a dog going was 11, and my dad kept his German Shepherd going until 17. But old pets in your life, Joe?
No, well, pets are a late discovery to me. My mother used to say to me, people are more important than animals, Joanne. And I believed her for a while. And when my mum was poorly a couple of years ago, I noticed as she went into the hospice, bless her heart, and we said goodbye, knowing we wouldn't see each other, she took no photo of me, no photo of my brother, but she did take a photo of my brother's dog. So, which rather undermined her argument, really, didn't it? So I think they can bring you such joy, can't they? And they do become members of your family. So I can understand that old boy being nurtured to his 30th year. How wonderful.
It is absolutely wonderful. I love the fact that you said you believed your mother for a while, which would imply that you think animals are more important than people now.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but you were quoting me earlier about, if I discovered dogs before children, would life have been different? Would I have been a primary school head teacher? Probably not. I think being a head teacher is a bit rotten, really. Spending time with dogs is wonderful.
Yeah, they get you out and about in the fresh air. Long-lived pets in your family, Paul?
Yes, and my first cat, which would have been my parents' cat, I was born and the cat was already there. Yeah, he lived till 20 years old, which again is quite a long time for a cat.
Absolutely.
And then we've had cats ever since in the family. Then I've obviously moved out and got married myself, and then we've always had cats. And nowhere near that length of time as any of the other cats lived.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. They're getting to that point where you're looking at them thinking, is it cruel to let them keep going?
Yeah.
At what point do you decide to put them down or keep them going?
Yeah.
So that's always the hard bit with the cats, because they have such a shorter life. You tend to go through them.
Absolutely. I had a friend who shall remain nameless, whose old cat was, I think, 17 or 18, and she was so worried about it, she kept repeatedly taking it to the vet. So, must be time now. No. And this cat just kept on going. But they're such a big part of your life. It is wonderful that they do that. So you are listening to the voices of Joe Garton from Swindon and Paul Jones from Cairn. More conversation from them on the lighter side of the day's news on the way. BBC Radio Wiltshire travel update for you now, and the roads not doing too badly this Friday lunchtime, although the A420 in Swindon has just had an accident reported, and the traffic is slow. Delays in both directions on the A420 in Swindon near the Shell station. In Melksham, the A350 Beanacre Road still has heavy traffic there in both directions near the Whitley turnoff, and in White Parish the A36 still has queuing traffic in the roadworks area near the White Parish turnoff. It's the trains that are really causing problems today because there aren't very many at all. Industrial action seems to have cancelled most of the services right across the country. And if you know of anything else that's causing problems on the roads in Wiltshire, do let me know. Put me right. 08000 28 3366.
BBC Radio Wiltshire.
So good. Queen, Freddie Mercury was the best, wasn't he? The greatest showman on BBC Radio Wiltshire. Sue Kinnear with you, enjoying the chat this lunchtime with Joe Garton, retired teacher, head teacher from Swindon, and Quizzie the Quiz Master, Paul Jones from Cairn. And to the man now who has completely captivated me today, much to my surprise, not having been much of a punk rocker myself. Either of you into punk back in the day? No. Two nods the head. Well, he appeared to be quite an angry young man, did Sex Pistol John Lydon, a.k.a. Johnny Rotten, of course. And he's in the news today because his band, Public Image Limited, are one of the acts hoping to represent Ireland at this year's Eurovision in May. The punk singer's parents were born in Ireland, and he has been speaking to our Eurovision reporter, Daniel Rosny. And listen to how Johnny Lydon talks about his wife.
From the most famous punk band's take on the monarchy to the more mellow Public Image Limited, which Lydon formed after the Sex Pistols split. It's that band that now wants to fly the Irish flag at Eurovision in May, with a song about his wife Nora's Alzheimer's. 6 acts will perform on Irish TV, but Lydon has mixed feelings about winning.
The further I am away from her, it's tearing my heart in 2 different directions. It's important to get the message out, but at the same time, I miss her like mad. It's not particularly about Hawaii. It's just about good memories and trying to jog her brain gently. I can take her back to more gentler times. One of the key words in the song is aloha, which in Hawaiian means hello and goodbye. And that's what a wonderful gift that language is for our situation. But I have to do this. I have to bring awareness to this problem.
He says he can't wait to show Nora his performance when he gets back home to Los Angeles.
Remember me, I remember you.
John Lydon with his band Public Image Limited, talking so beautifully and movingly there, Joe and Paul, about his wife Nora, who has Alzheimer's. It's a bit of a surprise, isn't it, to hear someone talking like that? Someone like Johnny Lydon, former punk rocker. What do you think, Paul?
It is. It's the first I've actually heard of that. So it's always sad to hear. But it's good that he's speaking publicly about it. And if he gets onto Eurovision, then that's an even bigger area he's going to be able to talk about it with.
Absolutely. And he's one of 6 acts competing live on Irish TV tonight on The Late Late Show. It's huge in Ireland because they've won 7 times. I mean, do you think they'll go for Johnny, Joe?
I think in a way they'd be foolish not to, wouldn't they? Partly because of the way society's changed. Now, our society, and I've no reason to think Ireland's any different, we've got twice as many people over 80 and half as many people under 20. So why have somebody gorgeous and 20 singing when you can have somebody who's talking about a really important issue in a very melodic way? It's a very moving situation. Everybody knows someone with dementia.
Yes.
Everybody knows. And his song is very moving. He talks about it very tenderly, I think. He might have been an angry young man, but he's a very thoughtful older man.
Yeah, he's definitely grown up well and clearly adores his wife, and is really serious about getting to Eurovision. Will you be watching Eurovision, Paul? Are you a Eurovision fan?
I will now. So I think I used to love it really early on. We used to even have Eurovision parties. It was such a big thing. And then it kind of went downhill a little bit when it became sort of so political with the different countries and the voting. And it's almost like we're slowly, over the last few years, clawing it back.
Yeah,
so whether you win or you lose, it's just more about a fair test, which is nice to see.
Yeah, and it's in Liverpool this year. It's Ukraine's party, but we're hosting it, which is rather lovely, and it'll be happening in May. The voices you're listening to belong to Joe Garton, Swindon teacher, retired head teacher, and Paul Jones, a.k.a. Quizzie The Quiz Master. The voice you will be listening to at 10 on BBC Radio Wiltshire tomorrow morning is the one and only Sue Davis. Big Eurovision fan, aren't you, Sue?
I am a big Eurovision fan. Talking about Ireland, if you get the chance, look at Niamh Kavanagh's. She won for Ireland, one of the many times they've won. I think it's just one of the best vocal performances ever. So if you get on YouTube, have a look at that. And it's going to be really, really interesting. So it's interesting because it's kind of got cool again, hasn't it?
Yes,
so,
it has.
Who knew? It's like eventually, see, I'd actually sort of like something that was cool again.
Yeah.
takes its time. It's only taken about 30 years.
Absolutely. And I'm looking up Niamh Kavanagh. But what can we expect from you tomorrow, Sue?
Well, our special guest is not Niamh Kavanagh. It's, in fact, actor and comedian Miles Jupp. He's on stage at Bath Theatre Royal. He's been in a movie with George Clooney. So what do we talk about? The time for charity when he dressed up as his Balamori character, Archie the Inventor, for a children's birthday party.
They said, well, have you got the outfit? And I was going, oh, they have the outfit. And so they sort of got hold of it, I think. And then I turned up and they said, great, well, you get the outfit on and then we'll play the music. You think, oh, great, because that's going to be stuck in my head for a week now. And then you just come downstairs and do your thing. And I went, oh, I don't have a thing. So I really didn't know what to do. It was, I didn't want to use the word disastrous, but can I say semi-disastrous?
Oh my goodness, he dressed up but he had no act.
Didn't have an act, because he's an actor. So you get given a script. So when that script isn't there, you're thinking, what do I do?
How brilliant.
You can find out what he did during that children's party, dressed up as Archie from Balamori. That's Miles Jupp. We'll also play the game with him, Miles Jupp or Miles Down. And it's all to do with his love of cricket. So it's a cricket connection with that. We're in Wiltshire last week. For the first time, actually, this year, it was a draw between the boys and the girls. So it's 88 each. So we'll see if we can get a winner tomorrow. Here's your cryptic clue. We love to give you, Sue, a sneak peek of our cryptic clue.
Yep.
Only women allowed here. Only women allowed here. That's a cryptic clue to somewhere in Wiltshire.
That's like Yorkies back in the day, only they weren't allowed Yorkies, were they, the chocolate bars? Only women allowed here. My goodness, Sue, they get tougher every week. Sue Davis on your radio, BBC Radio Wiltshire, from 10 tomorrow morning. She's a cracking good listener.
BBC Radio Wiltshire.
Oh, I'm pleased. Extremely excited to get started. Listen, I've come here, I want to get promotion.
Jodie Morris's reign as Swindon Town boss begins at Newport.
Hopefully we're going to be giving you more things to shout about. I'm certainly looking forward to getting out in front of those fans, and I can't wait to be celebrating some wins in front of them.
Austin Taylor, 3-3. Beauty of a cross from them by Murphy, and Austin sprinting into the near post.
12:45 kickoff in Saturday Sport. The home of Swindon Town football commentaries.
BBC Radio Wiltshire.
Yes, you are listening to BBC Radio Wiltshire. Sue Kinnear with you. We're in conversation this Friday lunchtime with our Wiltshire Views guests, and it's just about time to find out who knows more about where they live. Joe Garton about Swindon or Paul Jones about Calm. Must admit, Paul, I know you do toddler quizzes and kind of not really, well, they are quizzes, aren't they? They're learning for toddlers. But I'm a bit nervous about asking a quiz master, Quizzie, 3 questions about where you live. How long does it take you to come up with the stuff you come up with?
Probably a week. So I've got to think of the ideas to start with, and then I start building the video sort of on a computer system. Then I'll go and film it and obviously star in it, and then it takes the rest of the week to then sort of edit it, because I'm learning as I go. It's skills I don't have.
Wow.
So everything takes quite a long time. So about a week to do one sort of episode, and they're 20 minutes to 30 minutes long.
Wow.
So it's a lot of work.
And do you have a dream for this? Would you like it to get on terrestrial television, or are you happy with it online, doing very nicely? Thank you very much.
I think at the moment, if it got too big, it would just change their life too much in a sense. I've still got my work with the kids in the NHS and my own family. So, of course, it'd be amazing if it took off, but it would be quite a difference in the way I'd have to change my lifestyle, I think.
Wow. What do you do with kids in the NHS?
So I'm a paediatric hearing specialist. I've been that for sort of 25 years. And that's always been the background to the Quizzie in a sense. Because Quizzie, the character, really isn't a character I've invented. It's just me in that sort of higher, squeakier voice that I have to sort of turn into when I'm working with the kids at work anyway.
Yeah, to make them comfortable, to make them relax. Just amazing. And Joe Garton, quizzes, tests, kids love them really, don't they?
I don't know whether quizzes the kids do. I do. I go to a lot of quizzes. I love a quiz.
All right, well, let's play this one then. Quite a simple quiz, this. So it's just the 3 questions apiece. Yours on Cairn, Paul. Yours on Swindon, Joe. So, your first one. How many seats, Joe, does the Arts Centre hold in Swindon? Is it 212, 217 or 224? Seats in the Arts Centre in Swindon. This is quite tricky, isn't it?
That's very tricky. That's very tricky.
Sorry about that.
I know they all have names on them because I've sat in there and thought, oh, I'm sitting in Julian Clary today.
Oh, how lovely.
Yes, it's a bit of an image, that, isn't it? I think I'd probably go with 215 for no good reason.
Oh, if only you'd gone for 212, you would have been right. Only 3 out. That was a very, very, very good punt. Okay, Paul, coming to you. What is the population of Caen to the nearest 1,000? Is it 16,000, 19,000 or 22,000? Population of Caen.
I would have to go with 22,000.
Oh, if only you'd gone for 19. Everything to play for still. Let's see if you can get in the scoring, Joe. Swindon is twinned with Disney World. True or false?
True.
Yes! How amazing is that? I didn't know that. How did you know that?
Because one of my friends is Angela Atkinson, born-again Swindonian, and she is a font of all knowledge on Swindon.
And a good read on her blog as well. Paul, coming to you for your question on Caen. What is the sculpture outside the library in Caen? What is it?
So it's a head.
Yes!
A giant head.
One apiece. Can the deadlock be broken with the final question? Joe, what Swindon building is claimed to have given a band from the 1990s its name?
Oh, the Oasis.
Yeah, she said nonchalantly, without care, because she knew it was right, and Paul's nodding, he knew it too. Paul, your final question. What sport is played at Bremel View?
Football?
Yes! 1-1. Brilliant. A draw, 2 apiece. Nicely done. Joe, you are heading off now.
I am.
To see if your house is fit to adopt some puppies. Good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Just remind me of their names.
Pongo and Perdita.
Perfect. Good
Yes.
luck with those cuties. I hope it pans out for you. Paul, what are you up to for the rest of the day?
So I will probably get back home, sort a few things at the house, and very soon be picking up the kids from nursery and school.
Brilliant. Well, good luck with those quizzes as well.
Thank you very
your
much indeed.
work in the NHS. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and thank you both very much for coming in.
Thank you.